Aloha class. This week we're talking about strategy and human resources management. And one key aspect of strategy is that external analysis. And that's what we're chatting about in the discussion board this week. So I wanted to take the opportunity to talk a little bit about that external analysis. So on an ongoing basis, firms analyze those external opportunities and threats. You've probably heard of SWOT analysis for strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. The external analysis is that last two, those opportunities and threats. Within that category, we call that environmental scanning. And this is the systematic monitoring of major external forces which influence the organization, including forces in the business environment, the remote environment, and the competitive environment. Now, changes to this external environment have a direct impact on the way organizations are run and how people are managed. So today we're going to talk about these three different environments, the first being the business environment. Now, a firm's business environment consists of all of the external factors in the general environment. Factors a firm cannot directly control, but can impact their strategy. The remote environment is a part of that bigger business environment, and it includes forces that generally affects most, if not all, firms. And they are forces over which they are virtually no control over. So some examples of those would be economic and ecological changes. So changes in the economy, including anything that's general, regional, or even from a global condition perspective. For example, during economic booms, firms are more likely to expand. Another aspect that is going to impact the remote environment is the technical changes. Technical changes such as automation have a broad effect on businesses. For example, the internet has impacted businesses in nearly every institute and in nearly every country. For example, newspapers have had to adjust from print to digital to subscribers and adjust their sales and revenue strategies to match the new medium. And another example would be demographic changes that fall under that remote environment. So demographic changes include changes in labor supply, which can limit the strategies available to a firm. The shortage of talent in high-skilled jobs continue to create strategic challenges for firms. Social changes. We're seeing a lot of these social changes going on right now in the U.S. Social attitudes are constantly changing the business landscape for firms in all industries. This might include people's changing their priorities toward work, the need for childcare or elder care, adequate wages, job security, things like that. And the last example that I want to share under this remote environment is probably the first thing that we think of are those legal and regulatory changes. So any governmental or legislative issues, including laws and administrative rulings, have a broad effect on the remote environment and on the strategy in general. Great example of that is the Affordable Care Act, as well as that Fair Labor Standards Act that was up to be changed a couple of years ago, and then it got knocked down. So those are some good examples of how a company has to change their strategy to comply with that remote environment and completely out of our control. Now, the last type of environment that I wanted to mention is that competitive environment. That's another one that we often think about. The competitive environment is a little bit more narrow than that remote environment, and firms can have a greater effect on it. It consists of a firm's specific industry, including the industry's customers, rival firms, new entrants, substitutes, as well as suppliers. Now, a general rule of thumb about this is that the more power each of these forces has, the less profitable the industry will be. So let's talk a little bit about customers. A firm's strategy should focus on creating value for their customers, who often want different things. So our customers are sometimes difficult to satisfy. The point is that increasingly one size does not fit all. So organizations need to know how they are going to provide value to their customers. That is the foundation of strategy, and it influences the kinds of skills and behaviors that we need from our employees. Rival firms is the most obvious element of the industry analysis and is examining the nature of the competition. The answer to the question of a firm's competition is clear to everyone, but sometimes it's not. For many years, Toys R Us viewed its main competitors to be other